Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the July Castilla y León box. Pretty excited. It is a region that I've always had I should say certain sub-regions of it that I had a really soft spot for. But it's also kind of a bit of there's some sub-regions in Castilla y León that is kind of like essentially like the Napa Valley of Spain, very similar kind of a vibe. So it's kind of a love and hate relationship, but it's a gigantic region. It's a place that I've kind of stayed away from for a while, but it was time. And to tell you the truth, like I also wasn't super familiar with the Castilla y León. I knew that there were like very different regions. Um, but yeah, so it was a reason for me to kind of go explore more. And boy, was I impressed with the amount of diversity that exists here and the amount of quality that's coming out and the kind of really soulful, kind of honest, raw wines that are being produced here. So yeah, pretty excited to form a month around this. I think when most people think of Spain, Castilla y León is not the first place that pops in people's head. So excited to kind of go there. But before we get into all of that, just a few announcements before we get started. So tomorrow, Case Club will go live. So all the sherries that we tasted from last month will be featured, as well as the monthly champagne that I do now. There may be a few other things in there, but all that will go live tomorrow. So if wait for my email, and they'll all go live tomorrow. But that's really the only uh, announcement I have for now. Um, cool. So let's get into the wine. So yeah, we started talking about, in case you're joining us now, we're tasting this guy right here. Trasto is the first bottle that we're starting off with. 2023 LaOsa Trasto Tierra de León Blanco is what we're tasting today, or León Blanco is what we're tasting today. In case you're wondering, wow, that bottle looks quite similar or familiar, it's because we have featured this producer before during, I think it was last year in April during the rosé box, pink wine box that we did. I feature one of the Rosados that were by Trasto, LaOsa. Uh, and then, so yeah, so it's the exact same producer. So we featured the Rosado made from Prieto Picudo, which is another indigenous variety of this area, Lyon. But today we have their white, which is Albardine, is what we're tasting today. Let's start with the map. Mm, All right, here we go. So here's a map of Spain. Should look familiar. We use this map to talk about sherry last month. Um, So we were down here last month with Andalusia, the southern tip with sherry. And then we're kind of going into the northwestern corner right here in Castilla y León, this kind of a green part. As you can see, it's pretty big. In fact, it is the largest of the 17 administrative regions. It's essentially a gigantic plateau. So there's a mountain range that runs through the north that divides that kind of the green Spain, which is the northern tip of Spain. This is where it actually rains and is actually green. The rest here is quite arid. It's a kind of like desert-like. There's another mountain range that runs through here, as you can see in this map. So this plateau, kind of high plain, high elevation plateau, is essentially Castilla y León. Um, but this month, I mean, you might have not heard the name Castilla y León, but you definitely probably, especially if you follow Spanish wines, and even if you maybe perhaps don't follow Spanish wines, you might have heard of some of its key producers. But this area right here, Ribera del Duero, is very popular. So when most people think of Spain, they're probably first thing that comes to their mind is probably Rioja, maybe Cava, maybe if you're hip and cool and young, you maybe think of Albariño from Rias Baixas from Galicia, right? And some people may not know the name Ribera del Duero, but they probably have heard of the wine, the most famous, probably arguably the most expensive wine that comes out of Spain, which is Único by Vega Sicilia. You might have heard that name, Vega Sicilia, which exists right here in Ribera del Duero. So, I mean, we're talking about like I mentioned, the Ribera del Duero is essentially the Napa Valley of Spain, if you will. This is where the kind of like the cult status producers with the price tags to match kind of exist. The style of the wine is also like super the international popular style of super ripe, high octane, ripe, kind of like punch you in the face kind of style. The major grape variety that comes from here is Tempranillo. So both here as well as Toro, which is more inland. We're talking about Tempranillo. There's some Garnacha and other things included, but there's a lot of a similarity that's shared between Rioja and Ribera del Duero. Um, so Tempranillo base, really big, aged a long time, a lot of like new American oak and French oak use. So we're talking about like that style of wine, the same thing that you find from Cabernet Sauvignon in Napa Valley. You find that with the Tempranillo in Ribera del Duero. Once you're going more inland to Toro, it gets even riper, even bigger, even fuller. And that's the style that has become really popular and that has kind of come to characterize Castilla y León. But in a true 6 foot wine club fashion, we're leaving all that shit behind. We're not here for trophy wines. We're not here to follow points and cult status and all of that. In fact, this whole month, we're going to completely stay away from Tempranillo or Garnacha, which is kind of like the darling grapes of this region, particularly Tempranillo, or they call it Tinta Toro if you go to Toro. But instead, we're going to explore this region through it's kind of a lesser known, less popular indigenous varieties. So we're going to go more west. So we're going to start off this week with Tierra de León. This is where we are. We're in León now, with this bottling of Albarin. And then we're gonna go up to Bierzo. So this is high elevation plain area, so high plateau. And then we're gonna go up into the mountains of Bierzo. We're gonna have both white and a red. We're gonna have Godeo, Mencia, first of all, which is my darling kind of a sweetheart grape of Spain. And then we're gonna have Godeo by a kind of a wizard, genius winemaker, once named potentially the best winemaker in the world who would exist right here in Bierzo. And then we're gonna finish it all up by going to right against the Portuguese border in Arribes and working with grapes like Juan Garcia and Rufete. So we're gonna look at Castilla y León in a very different lens. You don't need yet another asshole, another sommelier to tell you to go, oh my God, you gotta check out Ribera del Duero, you gotta check out Vega Sicilia. I'm not saying those are not great wines, but they're just very overplayed, like you don't need another person to tell you that. You go to any, Spanish wine shop or Spanish restaurant, they're gonna have Ribera del Duero, they're gonna have Toro, they'll probably have Verdeo from Rueda. This is another region that's been really coming up popular in Spanish wine world. Verdeo is this white grape variety, not unlike Sauvignon Blanc, very high acid, kind of herbaceous. Oftentimes, it's actually, in fact, it is blended with Sauvignon Blanc. So a lot of the international varieties, the French international varieties, have made its way, infiltrated, I should say, its way into Castilla y León as well and being used. Again, Rueda Verdeo, you'll find that pretty much in any Spanish restaurant you go to. They're very commonplace, but you're less likely to find things like Rufete. You're less likely to find things like Godeo or Almarin. So that's what we're going to focus on this month because that's what excites me. These things are not necessarily all that exciting to me. So that's what we're getting. So Castilla, let's talk about the Castilla real quick. So largest of the 17 the administrative regions, like I mentioned, is essentially a gigantic interior inland high elevation plateau. Castilla and Leon is still called Old Castile, mean Old Castle, because it once comprised the heart of that powerful kingdom by that name. The land of castles essentially includes a number of such fortifications built to repel the Moors in the early Middle Ages. There's a lot of Moors Islamic influence that was coming up from the south, all through Andalusia and coming up. And then this was kind of like the Spanish kingdom that was fending the Moors from coming up more north. Um, and the dynastic union of Castilla y Leon and Aragon, which is the place right here, is essentially in the through marriages in the 15th century is essentially what gave birth to what we now know as Spain, because that was the first really unified kingdom of Spain. Is what was when the nobilities of Castilla y Leon and Aragon started getting married, and then they unified their land, and that's how Spain kind of started from along. So we're talking about very historically a significant area in Spanish history, not only in viticulture but also in the actual national history. In fact, the Castilian Spanish, the Spanish dialect that they speak here in Castilla y Leon, was the only official dialect in Spain for 2 centuries prior to the ratification of the Spanish Constitution in 1978. So again, we're talking about a very, very historically significant area. Um, the climate here, as you can imagine, being as inland and a very arid area like this, is a continental climate. What that means is it is blazingly hot in the summertime, and it is bitterly cold in the wintertime. It is moderated a bit because there's the Atlantic influence that comes in. Obviously, Bierzo gets a lot more Atlantic influence, being much closer. In fact, that once we get to Bierzo next week, you see how it actually is more similar to Galicia. I've always said that Bierzo should actually be included in Galicia rather than in Castilla y León. But you'll see how similar it is in terms of Atlantic influence that it has on the wine. But the rest of it here is a high plains. Also, this Duero River, it's the same river that flows through Spain, the central Spain going westward, and then dumps out through Porto to Portugal. So if you've heard of a Douro Valley, in Portugal, it is the same river. They just call it Duero here in Spain, but it's the same river that flows through right through the center of Castilla y León. So continental climate, slightly moderated by its proximity to the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, but still subject to extreme highs and lows of temperatures. The terrain of Castilla y León consists of the northern part of Meseta Central, which is that kind of in the middle, the arid central plateau of Spain. This is what we're talking about. Like in the middle of Spain is a very, very kind of desert-like. So we're kind of at the northern central end of it, just butting up against the green Spain, the Vino Verde, essentially. But within that, where we are this week is right here, Tierra de León. Now it's called León, but it's Tierra de León. It's a large deal just southwest the city of León, as you can see in this map. Didn't achieve its deal status until 2007, so it's rather young. It was known as Tierra de León until 2019, but now it is known as León. So if you look at the bottle in the back, it says León in the back on the label. However, this map was created before 2015, so it says Tierra de León here. So now the deal's name is León, but León, Tierra de León is the same. It held about 14,000 hectares of vineyards as recently as the mid 1980s, but just over 1,400 remain now. So it has a kind of decrease in its size quite a bit. Like I mentioned, this is a broad, high elevation plateau country. So, even though it's arid, it's dry, but it's kind of high up in the elevation. There's not a whole lot of elevation change per se, because it's a plateau. but the whole plateau sits around 800 to 900 meters in elevation above sea level, which is pretty high. So kind of there's a lot of limestone kind of runs through here, a lot of clay and alluvial soil that also runs through here, obviously with the tributaries of the Duero River running through here as well. So very soil types here, but the high elevation is essentially what really allows that quality grapes to be grown in, because all that heat during the daytime allow in the summertime during growing season allows all the ripeness to take place. But because of high elevation, the nights are actually quite cold, even though the daytime temperature can be really high. The nighttime temperature can the diurnal shift, which is the difference between daytime temperature and the nighttime temperature, almost can reach almost 50 degrees. So that's quite a bit of a temperature swing between the daytime and nighttime, and that's great for grapes, wine grapes, because all that ripeness during the day, but then at night all that cold front comes in, keeps the freshness, keeps the acid high, so all of that. The clay soil pebble is is also the one of the windiest growing regions in Spain. I've never been there myself, but I hear that the wind here is no joke, actually. In fact, most of the training system, the vine training system here is all bush vine trained. You rarely see kind of a trellis, just because that wind is so strong. With a trellis, it kind of acts as almost like a parachute. It'll like rip all the vines out. So you want to leave them kind of a single standing without creating this huge kind of canvas of leaves. But I mean, it's also the tradition of what just sort of being really old vines, old vineyards that exist here. So we're talking about bush vines and a very uh, old vines. But all red, white, and rosado wines are all produced here in Tierra de Leon. The main red grape variety here is the indigenous grape variety called Prieto Picudo, which we talked about. That's the rosado that we tasted last year from the same producer. It makes up roughly 70% of the plantings in this area. And the main white grape variety is Albarine Blanco, which is what we're tasting today. It is not to be confused with the Albarino, which comes from Rías Baixas in Galicia, or Albio Real, which is a different white grape variety that comes from Castilla y León. But Albarine Blanco is something completely different. It's actually indigenous, is believed to have originated. It's grown here in León, but also grown here up north in Galicia as well. Let's talk about the grape Albarine Blanco for a second. This is the grape. This is what it looks like. Albarine Blanco is not Albarino, like I said. It's a pretty rare. It's not grown anywhere else, really, except here in León and Asturias, which is the northern tip against the ocean front that I showed you on the map. But it's a highly aromatic, high acid, growing in northwestern Spain, really. It gives a lot, I think, like, and then you will talk about this when we get to tasting it. What I love about this grape variety, and I honestly haven't had a whole lot of exposure to Albertine until I started tasting for this month, but they all have this kind of like apricot, peach, kind of like stone fruit, a lot of stone fruit running through, but it's also got some flower. It's just really pretty. There's also some herbaceous, like herbal, kind of lavendery kind of a thing going on. Herbs, some reminds me a little bit of Verdeo. So it's got this like beautiful, pretty floral notes with sweet stone fruit, but also with some like herbaceous, savory notes. And then sometimes it can even throw in, depending on the vintage and then the temperature during the vintage, you can also show some spicy kind of notes. So yeah, it's just a really fun grape to work with. And yeah, and I just find it to be delicious in all way. And then of course, the natural is high in acid. So despite it being a really hot region, coupled with that cold nights, the acid on all the Albertine that I've tasted were just skyrocketed high, which is awesome, which is what exactly like. So it is often confused with Albarino. A lot of people always call Albarino Albarino, but they're not the same grape. They're completely different grape. So yeah. Let's talk a little bit about who makes this wine. I mean, skipped over the wine, but here she is. So LaOsa, Noelia de Paz is her name. So Noelia de Paz is a self-declared LaOsa. So LaOsa means the bear. Osa is or oso. Osa is a female kind of a version of female bear. Um, and one of the most compelling champions of Leon's ignore native grapes. So she really only works with the Prieto Picuro and Albarine, and she's kind of become a champion, kind of mother of Albarine, and because of the kind of tenacity to go after the native grapes, indigenous grapes, rather than all the pressure to plant and work with Tempranillo and other international varieties, she kind of earned that name, La Osa, the bear, the nickname, La Osa, the bear. She grew up in a winemaking family. She joined the family business, Bodegas Tempesta, in 2005, but it was to help on the business side of the winery. But little by little, just by being involved and seeing what's happening, she got involved in the actual making of the wine, the vineyard, the harvest, the whole nine yards. And then she realized she actually loved, it was actually her passion and she wanted to get back into it. She wanted to get into it. So in 2015, she decided to venture out on her own, and she started her own project called LaOsa. Um, Now she works. She doesn't grow any grapes of her own, so she doesn't own any vineyards. She doesn't have any estate fruit, but she partners with other like-minded farmers who farm organically, who wants to preserve kind of indigenous varieties of this region, uses traditional farming methods and avoids the mechanization or mechanical interventions as much as possible, and farms organic, all of that. So she has dedicated herself to working with only the indigenous varieties, Albarino Blanco and Prieto Pecudo. Over the years, with a desire to learn more about other varieties and other areas, she finally started to venture out. This is within last like 5 years or so. She has collaborated with other great Spanish winemakers and mentors like Rodrigo Mendez from Riyad Baixas and Raul Perez, which is from Bierzo, which is considered one of the greatest winemakers in the world. And we actually have a bottling of Codeo from Raul Perez in this month's box to work with Albarino and Mencia. So now she works with Albarino Mencia, but really her specialty is Albarino Blanco and Prieto Picudo. Here's another picture of her crushing grapes, as you can tell, on top of a crate. Uh, this is what the winery looks like. Uh, and then this is what it looks like inside the winery. So yeah, this is where this wine was made. If you can imagine all that, this is probably Albarino Blanco that's on the ground. That's what they're processing right here in this picture. Um, all right. So what is this wine? This is 100% Albarino Blanco, grown on alluvial clay soil at 800 to 900-meter elevation. So again, high elevation farming. 25-year-old vine, so that's super old, but not super young either. I mean, that's a 25 years is not nothing. Dry farm vineyard, not certified, but farm organic. All hand harvested at the end of September, destemmed, pressed, and then fermented with native yeast in a temperature-controlled stainless steel. Post-fermented, the wine is aged for 5 months in neutral French barrels, so it does touch barrels a little bit, probably to kind of mellow out the natural acidity, the high acidity of Albarine. It does see some light filtration, and then it gets bottled with a minimum of sulfites. Um, Trasto, by the way, means naughty or like a little rascal in a local dialect, which is kind of what she's trying to. It's a line of wines that she makes from Albarine and Prieto Picudo, essentially, just because she's going against the grain essentially. She's saying, I don't want to make Tempranillo, I don't want to make Cabernet and other things, or Garnacha. I want to make indigenous varieties. So that's what it is. Cool. Any questions about any of that before we taste the wine? Excellent. Let's taste the wine. Who wants to take the appearance? Come on, somebody.
All right, we can do it.
Oh, we?
Excellent.
Just so I can skip the nose because I know this is a tough one on the nose. Uh, I would say it's clear.
Mine is clear.
Yeah. Intensity is pretty pale.
Yeah, not a whole lot of color. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not
Yeah.
a whole lot of color.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
It's kind of dim in here too.
yeah. I may call this like medium lemon, maybe like light
Like yellow.
pale gold or something. But not
Yeah.
yet. It's not a whole lot of color. It's not a lot. Yeah. Any other observations?
Yeah, I call it like a just like a lemon to lemon green.
Yeah. Yeah. I think lemon is a perfectly good call here.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, my lighting is really yellow here. I know on camera it looks very white, but my bulbs are actually quite yellow, so I think it's making me see gold here. But yeah, it's putting it against a white background is actually quite yellow. I mean, quite lemon. So, um, any other observations?
No, super clear.
Yep, no sediments, no bubbles, nothing. Cool, easy peasy. You get to pick the next person for the nose.
Ooh. I'll throw it to Charles.
Okay.
All right, Charles.
This wine is clean.
Yeah, this wine is clean. This wine is sound.
It's actually a pretty clean wine for this wine club.
Intensity.
Um, I call it medium plus intensity.
Yeah, I'm like here. Yeah, that's like two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mine is a little. I opened it earlier and drank it warmer, and now it's been in the fridge for a little longer. It's a little too cold, but it's still like inch and a half off the glass. So
Yeah. I'm gonna call this
So-
medium plus as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, expressive. Medium plus intense aromas of. What do you get?
I get something floral. I don't know, blossom. I'm not sure. It's like
Yeah,
white types of flowers.
exactly. I know it's like a
Maybe
generic white
almost a little
flower.
honeysuckly or
Yeah,
blossom.
totally. Yeah, I think blossomy, honeysuckle, some sort of like a sweet white flower. I think that's totally dead on. Any green fruit?
Yeah, I do get some green fruit, some apple and maybe like pear, and it's sort of like, I don't know, it's not overripe apple. It's kind of like, it's like very ripe, kind of almost green apple or yellow apple type of.
Yeah, I get a touch of like that quince, which is that like
Yeah,
real
if I knew what a quince was, I would probably call
right,
it too.
right.
Sure.
It's like a if it's like an apple and a pear had a bastard child and it was like aromatic and expressive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we send our kids to school with the quince every day, but just never smell them. We have them at the house constantly.
It's
Um,
interesting. I always find like quince jam, but like you rarely see quince like the actual fruit. Yeah.
um, Good amount of citrus fruit, lemon,
Yep.
like every part of the lemon. Almost a little bit of kind of a grapefruity nose. There's like a little bit of a kind of like a, I don't know, like a little bit of a more bitter smelling citrus on there. And then definitely stone fruit, like you mentioned. It's peaches, but it's almost a little high tone on the peaches, like
Yeah.
kind of peach rings and apricots.
Yep.
I don't get anything tropical.
Nope.
Um, Nothing herbaceous. There is something herbal in here. I
Well,
don't.
before we get to any of that, how about the nature of the fruit here?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the fruit is ripe. I don't think it's like overripe. It's not
Yeah.
stewed, but it's like it's at the point of ripeness. It's not lean fruit. It's sort of like generous fruit, but it's not
Yep.
over the top.
Yeah, it's a fresh, it's ripe, it's not overripe, it's underripe, it's like a peak season, fresh, ripe thing. And this place, Leon, but as well as Castilla Leon in general, it's just like the ripeness is not the problem here. It gets really hot here, so you're never gonna be like, oh my God, like this wine just did not ripen enough, did not ripen enough. So yeah, fresh, but yeah, not over the top, not overripe. Like it's perfectly fresh and ripe. Okay. Herbaceous, herbal, any non-fruit flower things?
I'm not getting anything herbaceous, but there is something kind of herbal. I don't actually know what it is. I think it was a little bit when it was warmer, a little more pronounced. So maybe I'm just not getting it super strongly right now. But
Hmm. Yeah, there's something
it's
like
like a, it's like a, I don't know, like a stemmy type of herb. Like it's not fennel exactly, but it's kind
no,
of
I,
close.
I know what you mean. Like there's something touch like little savory here. Yeah, like I don't like it's and not I don't want to call any one of these don't necessarily come into me, but there's something savory that's not just like fruit and flower in this thing.
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't argue if somebody called white pepper.
Because I don't get much spice on this thing personally, but okay. Any
Yeah,
stone?
definitely some stones.
Yeah, I guess some like whetstone for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Any secondary, any tertiary?
So when I opened it first, I was getting like some kind of oxidative
Hmm.
sherry type notes. That's gone. I don't know if that's temperature or time, but it's still kind of there. It's like very slight. It's like the kind of like very slightest little whiff of oxidative note
Hmm.
on this. And
Okay.
I
Like
usually, I
nuttiness?
usually, what's that?
Like a nuttiness? Like
Yeah, I've never really put it's, I wouldn't call it nutty.
it may be because it does sit on fine lees for 5 months. You may be getting a little bit like a lees aging influence. I mean, it's not super long, it's 5 months only. Um,
It could be.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
there was something definitely that was like a sort of oxidative sherry note when it was a little bit
yeah,
warmer, and I'm not getting it quite as much now. I usually don't like that. Like sherry month was not, my prime time,
yeah.
but I actually think it's like perfectly in balance, so it's not bothering me.
Okay.
But yeah, not anything tertiary other than just that oxidative element.
Yeah. Um, I don't get much oxidative thing here for sure, but maybe earlier kind of one we're talking about that savory thing. Maybe it is, some of that kind of a lees aging that happens in the barrel, 5 months, where maybe I'm smelling some of that. But yeah, there's some sort of savory component. But here, yeah, I definitely get some floral. I definitely get some green fruit. I definitely get some citrus fruit, stone fruit. Like all of that is here. Really ripe, really fresh, peak ripeness, nothing overripe, and then some minerality here as well. And honestly, on the nose, and then we're gonna talk. I'm gonna keep bringing this up later on as well. But like to me, this reminds me so much of like a Loire Chenin. If like the Loire Chenin immigrated to Spain, like this is what I feel like this is what it would be. There's a lot, there's also the acid. There's a lot more phenolics here. There's also that kind of like Shannon has a what we call Shannon funk. Sometimes especially aged Shannon can get like a wet wool kind of a thing going on. There's also something little funky, little dirty about Shannon. In the best way. But like the similar thing is happening here. Like earlier when you were talking about like oxidative, like that savory thing, like there's something like that that's happening here as well. Not as lean as Shannon here, but there are a lot of similarity, a lot of similar vibes. Like if I got this blind, First of all, if anybody put Albarine Blanco as a blinded wine, I would fucking punch that person in the face. But I'd be very, very tempted to call this Shannon. They'd be like, it's not quite Shannon, but like it's got a lot of Shannon. Like there's something funky going on, like Shannon. So, all right, cool. You get to pick the next person for the palette, Charles.
Um, does anybody want to do it? I'll call the most recent comment who's not Joe, Sam and Annie.
All right, Simon Annie, this is your first. Is this your first go at the grid?
It is
Excellent.
first time. Okay. Um,
Let's start from the top. Let's start with sweetness.
I would say that this is pretty dry.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
there's no sugar on this whatsoever.
yeah.
A lot of people may confuse this. I say this all the time. There's a lot of fruit. It's generous, and a lot of sweet notes. A lot of that blossomy kind of like a nectarine, peachy kind of sweet fruit, right? Sweet fruit notes. So a lot of people may think that it's sweet, but there's absolutely no sugar on this wine whatsoever. So definitely try. Acidity.
I would say pretty high acidity, maybe like medium plus. Um,
Ooh,
then,
yeah, it's got some excellent acidity. Like I mean,
yeah. No tannins really here.
yeah.
Alcohol medium.
Try to call out a percentage. What do you think this is?
12 and a half, 13.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, like 12 and a half. Yep, 12.5. So
Right.
that's right in the middle, perfectly medium.
Yeah.
Body.
I would say like maybe medium minus. Medium.
Yep. They go out like a milk percentage. I don't know if that grosses you out, but you feel like this is like a 2% milk. This is, so if you're saying medium minus or light, you're saying this is like skim milk or like 1%.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of on the lighter side for me, but maybe more towards medium, like in the medium minus. I don't know. I what's 2% on the
Medium.
scale? Medium, yeah, and maybe 1%.
Yeah, to me, there's some weight to this. So earlier I
Yeah,
was talking about Shannon, and this
yeah,
is where I would say this diverges from Shannon because for Shannon to have this much weight, it's
yeah,
usually has some sugar in it. Like, because Shannon also can be made in a super bone dry all the way to deliciously sweet. So it's usually with the sugar, it gets a little bit fuller, but with this is a bone dry, yet it's got some weight. Like it moves around. I'm gonna call this 2%, so I'm gonna call it about medium.
yeah.
But it's got some weight. Mood sweeter to talk about. It's not a sparkling wine.
Hmm.
Flavor intensity.
Uh, Flavor intensity, I would say medium plus.
Agreed. It's very expressive, just like on the nose. All the things in here are expressing itself very, very clearly.
Yeah.
All right. Do you confirm everything that Charles called out? Is there anything else
I guess
that you can?
I have to say that when I first took a sip of this, I really tasted it. Tasted quite briny to me. It was like the overwhelming flavor, and I feel like I had to take a couple sips to like get past that. But I tasted
Mhm.
like green olives more than anything else
Mm,
um at the beginning. But then kind of to add to what Charles was saying, I feel like the only other thing that I would really add is that to me I really, both on the nose and on the palate, am getting like eucalyptus. I
mm.
don't know if anyone else feels like that, but that was what that kind of I feel like savory flavor that
Yeah.
we were talking about earlier felt like to me. And maybe that's just
Yeah.
me, but
So that's perfect. So you are calling it eucalyptus. Charles is calling it a little bit like that sherry kind of a thing. Now that I'm actually tasting it as well, I think I understand. I'm getting what Charles was talking about, that kind of oxidative thing. To me, this is more of that like cheesy. This is more of a lees aging that I get rather than the oxidation. But there's also, besides the lees aging, there is the savory component. There's something like I don't. It's not quite this. It's not quite what's on here, but there's something savory, kind of like a plant matter, like, and you're probably calling it eucalyptus, and I'm calling it like a savory vegetable, essentially, like a vegetable herbaceous, something along that line. Uh, which is to me, it's quite nice actually. In conjunction with all that like sweet flowers and fruit. One thing I do get on this thing on the palate, more so than I don't really quite get on the nose, is there's this little bit of like this beeswax, kind of like honey kind of a thing going on here that I get a little bit. But I think it may be expressing differently to all of us, but I think we're all describing the similar thing, that there's some sort of savory component in this wine besides the
Yeah.
fruit, just the fruit and flower, essentially. It's basically what we're getting. Um, so so eucalyptus, you say you get a little bit of brininess, a little saltiness.
Yeah, I would say that's like really the kind of primary flavor for me. Like everything else kind of like it was green olive to me, and then kind of everything else like after that. But that's
Oh, so to you, this wine tastes very like a. I mean, green olive is. I mean, going back to what Charles thinks, that's kind of like the like a Fino style sherry.
it
Oh.
tastes to me like that wine that we had the last week of Cherry Month that I hated. It feels like kind of a version of that I actually enjoy. I feel like it has that like brininess.
Okay.
And yeah, no, but I find this really drinkable, but I felt like I don't know, there's a lot of like salinity there for me, which I wasn't really
There is some
expecting.
salinity here. That I do agree. I do think there's some salinity here. I do get some saltiness.
Yeah.
The before this goes into the barrel, I mean, the winemaking is very reductive here. It's all stainless steel, meaning lack of oxygen. So the wine is made in an environment where it doesn't have any oxygen. So it is possible that there's some of that is basically reminding, because the Fino is essentially very reductive winemaking.
Hmm.
It's aged under floor, so it doesn't see any oxygen whatsoever. So you may be picking some of that up as a
Yeah.
similarity. But to me, there's a complete different kind of a flavor profile here. Like to me,
Yeah.
the sherries and all that, Finos and earlier sherries that we have biologically aged sherries that we had last month, those were all very like savory. There's not a whole lot of this going on here, but
Yeah.
this wine to me has a lot of this like floral, pretty fruit and all of that as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Finally, the length. How long is the finish?
I would say like medium plus for me.
Yeah. It's like right on the verge of like the medium plus. No, I'm gonna go with the medium plus. Yeah, I'm still tasting. Okay, medium plus. All right. Conclusion.
Uh,
How good is this wine? Justify it, and would you age it?
um, I would say it's very good. It's balanced. It's clean. Um, I the aging part, you're gonna have to guide me more.
Okay. Let's do the quality part. Let's break it down a little further. So you did say it's balanced.
Yeah.
Concentration, we call medium plus on the nose. You call medium plus on the palate. So
Hmm.
medium plus.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, yeah, intensity, and then complexity. We called out bunch of stuff, right? We called out flower, we called out green fruit, citrus fruit, stone fruit. I know you said for you it's pretty much all like green almond and
I feel like I tasted more of that stuff kind of after I'd taken a few sips and sat with it a little bit,
Yeah.
but I feel like I was getting like salinity is and that like brininess is the overwhelming flavor at the beginning, you know. Um,
Did you call it green almond or green?
green olive, olive.
Olive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was actually going to say I kind of feel like I'm getting green almond.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's not what I said.
I
yeah.
thought you said green olive because of
That
the
is what I
spring.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, but yeah, we call that bunch of stuff: floral, green citrus, stone, green olives, green almond, some herbaceousness, some lees aging, some whetstone. So quite a few things. You know, we're not really getting into tertiary. Maybe touch of this of lees aging, but like mostly all primary. But we got quite a few things going on. So what would you call that? Like high end of medium, maybe? You know, for complexity.
Yeah, sure.
And then the length, we call it medium plus. So
Hmm.
we got balance, medium plus intensity, uh, high end of medium, medium to medium plus complexity, and then medium plus length. So if we take average all of that, we're landing in medium plus, which is, we'll land this here, right? Very good. Now, for aging. So for wines to age, there are two things that you need to have, and those two things individually will sub down into two sub things, sub components. So two things are structure, and then it's flavor. So for structure, we're talking about basically tannin and or acid. For flavor, we're talking about intensity, so how much of it is present to begin with, and then the complexity, like how much of the different things are going on to add into more of it. So let's start with structure. Let's talk about acid or tannin. Obviously, this wine does not have tannin. It was white wine, directly pressed off the skins. But let's talk about acid. What do we call an acid?
Uh, like medium plus
Medium
acid.
plus,
Yeah.
right? So pretty decent backbone, right? You got to have that backbone so the flavors don't fall off. So very decent, very good backbone. Now let's talk about flavor. Flavor intensity, we called it
Like medium plus.
medium plus,
Yeah.
right? So we got quite a lot of things, and then intensity, complexity, we also call medium plus, right? High end of medium to medium plus, right? A lot of different things going on. So I would say in general, this wine has a very good aging potential, right? Like it's got a solid backbone, medium plus. You know, it's not meant to be aged for like forever, like 10 plus years, but I don't think it's gonna fall apart anytime soon because of medium plus backbone. Also, the flavor wise, right? There's the intensity. So there's quite a lot going on already. So some of it will remain as a primary while the rest are transitioning into tertiary and other things. Um, One thing to think about is, will this wine, yes, this wine may get more complex with aging. You may get all these non-savory notes and added on there. Will that make this wine more delicious? Like, what is making this wine delicious? You know, is it that it's freshness, is youthfulness, is immediate approachability and puffability right now? Or is it that it has that so many of those different things going on already, and that's what's making it interesting and delicious? And by adding even more, another layer and multiple more layers on top of it is what's going to get it to be more interesting and delicious. What do you think?
Um, I don't know, maybe a little bit of both for me. Like I feel like this is very easy drinking, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but it does have that complexity too. So
Yeah. And then kind of like the same way. I think this one is delicious right now. I think it's drinking, can drink now. It's drinking beautifully now. But it is also a bit interesting to see how this develops, or at least it
yeah.
won't fall apart anytime soon. So I would say
Yeah.
drink this now. And, you know, if you want to put a few bottles down, I would say maybe check back in the next like 3 to 5 years, maybe. I don't think it's going to fall apart anytime, even after five, like probably up to 8 years or something, because of the medium plus acid. But check back in around year, 3, year 5, maybe get like 3 bottles, check back in at 3, 5, and maybe 7, just to see how it develops. But in general, it's not meant to be aged for, this is not a wine that's meant to be aged for like 10 plus years, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good job. Excellent job for the first time. You retain a lot of it actually. That was a very smooth first time through the grid. All right. Any questions? Any objections? Any disagreements?
Yeah, I thought for a while we had the wrong bottle because we just got totally different
Yeah?
nose
Tell me
and
more.
guys. We were sitting there smelling it, and like we actually Googled it to make sure I opened the right one. I'm like, did I open the right bottle? Because
Okay.
we had like probably the lightest meat. Like there was no scent to this wine when we drank it.
Very
Like,
faint.
Oh,
her scent
interesting.
smells better than mine. Like we were like right there. Like I don't smell anything. Um,
Is
and
it is it cork?
No, it's fine. It tastes
Okay.
fine. It's just very light, little bit of lemon, but nothing savory. No, like I can't smell anything.
Oh, interesting. It may be a bottle variation.
Yeah,
We just got an off bottle, maybe. But yeah, I
interesting.
mean,
Yeah, it's not corked.
yeah, it's definitely
Maybe the top of
it may not be
the
the
or something.
most expressive wine that we've had, but it's not light or like
Yeah, because I assume that the nose. This is just like medium minus for me. I can't.
Yeah, like you gotta like dig your nose in
Yeah, I
there
can't
to
get.
smell anything.
But
And
interesting.
then the
All
smelling
right.
is general. Like, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you can smell
yeah,
that.
I just poured myself a new glass, but yeah, I'm getting it here, so
Yeah.
well,
Is it-
next time I see you, we'll open a new bottle and see if it's any different.
Sure.
Um, any other comments, questions, disagreements? Okay. I mean, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Loire Shannon, but like, do you guys kind of get what I mean by that? Like, it reminds me so much of Shannon here, like a Anjou Shannon. It reminds me so much of it. Um, but yeah. Anyway. Um, so yeah, just to kind of wrap it all up, like Castilla Leon, earlier to begin with, in general, it's a much more of a red wine kind of a fortress with the Ribera del Duero, Vega Sicilia, their influence and all of that. But I just wanted to prove that this region is also, even though it's so hot, can also produce really elegant, fresh white wines like this, right? Um, other white wine that comes from is a Rueda Verdeo that I mentioned. But like to me, Rueda Verdeo is just like any other innocuous white wine. Like it's not unlike Sauvignon Blanc. If you are a Sauvignon Blanc fan, if you have a family member or a friend that's a Sauvignon Blanc fan, like Rueda Verdeo is probably something that you can get them on and they'll probably like it. But to me, something like this, the Albarine, is something very different. It's floral, it's pretty, it's elegant, it's 12.5%, even though you're in one of the hottest parts of Spain, like all of that is exactly why I wanted to pick that up, because it is possible because of the high elevation plateau that allows for elegant grapes like to exist. So yeah, it's not a neutral kind of a middle of the path white wine like a Ruin of Verdale. So yeah, that's why I picked it. Uh,
Question. So
yeah.
our bottle says 13.5. Does yours actually say 12?
Did I misread that? Where is it?
Still trying to get to the bottom of the mystery here.
Oh, 13.5. You're right. It's 13.5. I misread that. Sorry. Um, cool. Did you guys like this one? Just out of curiosity? Joe and Alex, you're like, hey, maybe. Uh, okay. Let's play everyone's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? And how much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shop? In this great variety, small producer, kind of an unknown region, or it is a region, but sub-region, but 35, 25, 22, 29.99. And the winner is Dana Johns. This would be 35 bucks in a retail shop. Depending on where we are, depending on this recently went up. This used to be actually like 29 last year, but then I think it's the post tariff pricing, so it is up to 35 now. But it used to be around 28, 29, and I thought it was like a fantastic deal at that point. I still think 35 is a very, very reasonable price for this quality. But yeah, fucking tariffs. You want to any questions? Excellent. Excellent. Just out of curiosity, how familiar are you guys with the Castilla y León as like a just a wine region? How often do you guys drink Castilla y León wines? Okay.
Not familiar at all.
Yeah. Even Ribera del Duero. How many of you guys have heard of Vega Sicilia? Like you've heard of Vega Sicilia, right? Like, I mean that is it's like I don't know what to compare that to, like Harlem, of Spain. But yeah, okay. I mean, that's kind of what I figured. Not many people are familiar with Castilla. It's particularly this part of Castilla, the like, northwest, where we're going to explore. If anything, it'd be Toro or Ribera del Duero. But yeah, so this month is all going to be about northwest, and then they're going south to the Portugal border. So cool. Glad to bring you to a unknown territory. Cool. That's it. That's all I got. That's the show.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So I feel like for a long time, like I've been on a quest for years to drink every good Italian white wine because I always feel like the ones you get at restaurants are like these neutral, boring Italian white wines. So like, I figured out a couple things about those. I feel like Spanish wine is kind of in the same, like full stop is in the same category. It's like if it's not Albarino and it's not Rioja, like no one cares about it or tells you anything about it. Like what's like why is this? Why is an entire peninsula worth of wine like basically not like you can find very predictable bottles on restaurant lists.
Yeah.
And people are not like instructing you about this stuff.
But I will say this, outside of Cava, which is sparkling wine, Spain is predominantly a red producing country. They make way more red than they make
no,
white.
but even reds, like even like Ribera del Duero, like they'll have them on a menu, but like there's not like they're not like celebrated except for Vega Sicilia. They're not like celebrated wines. So like no one's like excited about them. No one's like, oh, we have a cool Spanish. I've never heard anyone say we have a cool Spanish wine on the list. Like, I don't like why is that? There's great Spanish wine, but I really do know nothing about it because you don't have a lot of easy touch points to like, is that, I don't know.
I don't know. That's I've always found that to be interesting because I think Spain just kind of maybe because it's just looked as kind of a cheap wine. Obviously outside of Rioja, there's some really high-end Spanish wines, but like when you're talking about like the middle of the ground, wines by the glass, that kind of program, like nobody gets that excited because everything is just kind of like, But I've always found Spanish wines to have some of the best values out of them all because exactly that, because it flies under the radar. Like nobody's really paying attention. Nobody's really going out there and seeking out these areas. But it's really in these sub-regions that I'm finding the most, that's true in general, but particularly in Spain, moving away from these big areas like Rioja, Ribera del Duero, Penedès, Priorat, even Rivas Baixas. It's like going into places like Ribera Sacra, Leon, Bierzo, like these like real sub-regions is where like really compelling stuff is coming out. And I do think that is starting to change. Like, the Bierzo is a great example. Like Menthia from Bierzo is like, I think it's gotten a lot of like limelight, like it's getting a lot of popularity. Maybe I just run in the wine circle, like wine geeks and nerds. Like we're definitely talking about it. I don't know, like if it's reaching the general masses, but yeah, like there's a lot of talk at least coming out of these obscure, quote unquote, obscure Spanish subregions. So,
Did we have a bottle from this region like 4 years ago, like
Bierzo?
a Mencia with like a purple capsule?
We did have a bottle from Pierso, yes, with like dots, bunch of different colorful dots. Lonca de Sil, I believe it was called. I also feature Raul Perez. We have his white wine Bodeo this month in the box, but his red from India was. I feature his wines as a case club, not in the box itself, because there was not in the photo. Um, but yeah. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know why Spanish wines get shit on, except for these like top end Spanish wines, like the middle of the road of Spanish wines. Why like no, why everybody sleeps on it? I don't understand. Any other questions? Ah, delightful. This wine is delightful. I like this wine a lot. Um, cool. Well, hearing none, I'm gonna turn off the recording.